us. But yeah, this is day 3 now. Today's gonna be more of a simple day because I don't want to overcomplicate stuff because it's gonna take about a month. So I want to take it slow and take our time. Today we're just gonna go over the basics of our buddy here down here, the RSI with the Bolinger Bands. Before we do begin, I'm gonna text the group chat to make sure. Everybody does know we're on call. This one's probably gonna be a shorter call. We're just gonna go over this is more to see where everybody inside the call is kind of at. So that's why it's good if you guys actually do show up. All right, gonna wait like a minute, see if anybody else is gonna be joining before we do begin. But yeah, and now we'll also go over how's it called, the little market recap as well, overview what we saw, stuff like that. I think we should actually start with that before we get into the RSI Bollinger Bands, since we got a fresh refresh on that from yesterday. So first things first, everybody, so the things we've learned in the past 2 days, have you guys seen it play out more so in real time now? Like when, all of the price action, we're breaking highs, breaking lows, retest of breakouts, breakdowns. Are you guys seeing this more in live action?
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, I'll be the first to say, yeah, bro. Like the way you were explaining, like marking out the different lows and highs, like on the chart at different spots, definitely has made it easier to like see what's going on for me.
For sure, that is good. And we'll kind of do the same thing we did yesterday. I'm gonna kind of just ask everybody, see how many trades you guys took, what trades you guys took. So we'll start with Mr. Sean, go alphabetical order. Sean, how many trades did you take today?
I haven't taken any today, but yeah, I agree with Desmond. Just based off the things we were talking about in the last 2 days, seeing how they're actually playing out today, like the pre-market highs playing out, and then breaking higher or breaking previous highs to launch a run and things like that.
For sure. Okay, that's definitely good. Mace, you are next. If you want to share, I mean, you could feel free to share. You have a lot of experience, so if you do want to share, if you don't want to share, it's fine. You don't have to. How many trades you take today, Mr. Amazed?
Well, I'll be honest. Market open, chopped, messed me up. Was down 3K on one account, and that was off of 3 trades.
3 trades.
But I had another account. One thing I have to work on was being more patient. So I was patient enough, caught the longs, and closed out for I think like 8K profit.
Okay, nice. Good thing we're noticing where, that's one thing. One key thing Amaze mentioned, you guys heard what he said, right? You always want to know where you go wrong. Every time you take a trade, you want to look back at your trade. What went right, what went wrong. And, like you said, maybe he wasn't as patient for his entry. But he did end up making it back, plus more. He didn't overtrade after making a mistake, stuff like that. And just be patient, and there's always going to be another trade. Thank you for sharing, Mr. Amazed. Next, Cam, how many trades have you taken?
I took one. I took a long at basically the bottom, and then I was getting chopped up, and I got emotionally closed after that.
Just for a break even or small loss or low profit?
Small one, but
Small one, okay.
yeah.
It's good. We'll go over the setups. I'm assuming it was around this area where you longed, right? And somewhere around here.
Your camera's not on.
By fault. That I was sharing this whole time.
I'm sure you already know where it is, though.
Yeah, around this little choppy area down here, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure, yeah. Okay. Next, Mr. Desmond Benjamin. Oh, I think you already kind of said that you didn't take any trades, right?
No, I took one.
Okay.
Let's see. It was one micro. It was for like, let me see. I have to go to the other. Well, that's not important, but where it was on the 5-minute time frame, it was around the 8:25 time frame, like that. Yeah, like that chop here at the end. I saw like the lows right here, and then the top candle, not that one, the next one over that broke all the was that London's highs or wicked up there. When it made a lower low, I mean a lower high and a lower low, excuse me, I waited for a candle to break these lows, and then I just took that wick is where like my take profit was on the candle to the left, over yeah, that wick right there. But yeah,
okay, so
yeah,
okay, so you played the short off this, the failure to break these highs and the rejection to make the higher high, and then you caught this move with this wick.
yes.
Okay, pretty solid. That was a nice TP as well. Pretty solid stuff. Okay, Mr. Galaxy. I know you sent me that setup yesterday. Any other trades other than that one setup you sent me yesterday?
I took a short. Actually, no, I took 2 trades, and it was at open. And the first one, I tried longing after it held that level. Or let me find what it was. Actually, yeah, no, it's
What the
that
Sigma?
4 or 524 level.
524
After I took a long there, but I got stopped out. I hit my TP1, which is a 1 minute trauma, and then I got stopped out.
break even or
And
profit?
I took like a $150 loss, and then I took another trade after that. I switched my bias into shorts because I started seeing a rejection at trauma, and then I took a short because the bands were opening up and giving it more downside, and it hit my second TP, and then my full TP was at that 474 level, but I made $300 off that, so still good.
Okay, solid stuff. So green on the day, nice. Then next we have Mr. Cryptic. How many trades and which trades?
I took 2 trades last night. When market open after hours. I was thinking the previous day there was a massive, push in volume for longs. So I figured we were gonna have like a reset to kind of cool off a little bit. So I was looking for the dump. I took the dump. It was going down. It was close to hitting my TP. Forgot what was the TP that I had specifically, but it started to reverse. And when I saw that it started to reverse, I just took profits and immediately entered at the breakout to the upside, where it hit the 4-hour trauma. It hit 4-hour trauma, and from there just completely rejected.
4-hour trauma.
Yeah, like around 4-hour trauma
What was this?
or MNQ.
Oh, MNQ?
Oh, yeah, MNQ. So my trauma is like, you see where that double top is, like up top right there. Yeah, I took profit right there, and then it just reversed, and I got funded on that account.
Nice.
What the Sigma?
Nice that you're utilizing the bigger time frames, especially after hours, because usually the after hours trades do take longer time to play out. Nice. So that was the
I figured
trades you took today.
What the Sigma?
What's up? That was the only trade you took today, Mr. Galaxy? Not Mr. Galaxy, Mr. Cryptic.
Oh, it was 2
what
trades.
the
It was 2
Sigma?
trades. So I collected. I took profits on both of those trades.
Okay,
So the
you
dump,
played, like both sides of that trade. Nice, good.
yeah, the dump, and then the reversal after it
what the
broke out. That's when
Sigma?
I immediately entered because there was a massive push in volume to
Okay,
the upside.
Yeah, remember how we were going over, like, it is okay to flip if you do have confirmation. So, in that case,
Yeah, I actually remembered that. Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking about it. Okay.
Okay, solid stuff. And then Mr. Nightwolf, you didn't show up yesterday, but I hope you watched the recording. Did you take any trades today or yesterday?
I didn't personally take a trade on a live account or funded. I just took it on paper trading. I was just watching the market today. but I was seeing an entry, so I marked out pre-market highs, which was around like 628 ish,
Mm-hmm.
and around 11:55, I saw that it rejected on the 5 minute, and then I dropped down to the 1 minute to find for an entry, and I guess I joined around 623, and then my TP was London's low,
Okay. Nice.
and yep, and that's where it hit. But I didn't take it on anything, just paper traded it or
Yeah.
price watched
That's
it
good.
all
Yeah.
day.
Perfect. Yeah. Right now we're just trying to get a hang of it, so that's actually really good. I took that same trade. That's the I
Oh
took
shit.
yeah I took two trades. That one was the one that hit my full TP, and then the other one I got
Mm-hmm.
break even. So I did take that full
All
trade.
right.
And you took the
All
second
right.
approach to this trade because we've been going over the fact that there's technically two entries to every trade. You know, there's a risky entry and then
Mm-hmm. The
the risk,
risky.
and then one with confirmation. I personally took the risky entry off this one. I just took it the second we hit that. Uh, how's it called? When we did hit that pre-market high, bands were tightening
Mm-hmm.
up. We had a nice little divergence slash double top on the RSI here on the
Mm-hmm.
5 minute, and then the 1 minute was indeed topped out. So that's why I took that setup. You took that entry with confirmation, which was also still a really good entry because I mean you would have caught this whole schlong move to the downside, which was a
Yep,
good chunk of a move.
it was.
And then all right, thank you for sharing. Did you watch the video from yesterday by chance? By the way, just want
I
to
did.
make
I did. I
okay,
did.
perfect.
I
Just
watched
want
it
to
last night.
make
Yep.
sure
Thank
everybody's
you.
on the same track. Mr. Tony, any trades today, Mr. Tony?
Um, nah, I was actually waiting for it to join here to like to learn a little bit more because I'm only 500 away from getting funded, so I need a A+ setup damn near.
All right, perfect. I will say that is actually really smart of you, Tony. You know, there's no need to rush if you don't have confidence to fully like start taking trades of your own. It's fine. Just keep learning more and just watch the market as time goes. That's fine. And then Andy, did Andy leave? He did leave. Okay. Did anyone else join? No. Okay, that's about everybody. We went over everybody's trades. Oh wait,
Hey,
Quasi,
hey Chris,
Quasi. I
my
skipped Quasi. My fault, Quasi. I didn't see. Any trades,
hey
Mr.
Crispy,
Quasi? Yeah,
um,
Tony.
my bad. I'm about to, I came to sell the cans, the recycle. I'm about to be
Uh huh.
done like in 5-10 minutes,
All right, it's good.
so I'll
Uh,
get back on like 10
all
minutes.
right, perfect. If you miss anything, it'll be recorded, so you can just rewatch it in case you miss anything important.
All right, thanks.
Yeah. Mr. Quasi, any trades today, good sir?
You hear me?
Yo, what's up? What's up?
How you doing? No, I
Chilling,
didn't
chilling.
take any trades today.
For sure, for sure. Any
Just a lot of
trades
luck.
yesterday? Any trades yesterday?
No trades yesterday either.
Okay. And did you watch the vid by chance?
I did watch the vid.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Just want to make sure everybody's on the right around the same area.
So,
All right. And then Mr. Expert, it is your first day here as well, good sir. I don't.
Yo, what's up?
You're kind of a bit behind here because you didn't show up the first 2 days, but you know, we'll see.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah. Did you watch the
I
video
didn't
by
take any
chance?
trades, but I watched a little bit of the video last night.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna finish it today.
Perfect, perfect. All right. So I mean, that was just kind of a little overview. I wanted to see where everybody's at, what trades everybody's taking, and then we'll go over now what I thought about the New York session, the setups I saw, the setups I did take, and kind of the just overall basics. So first things first, New York session opens, you know, 6:30, our usual shabil. First things, we always want to have our pre-market session highs already marked. We knew it was this 6:30 area, and then we wanted our pre-market lows as well, which was right around this area, right? That was our pre-market low. Yeah, so this was our pre-market low. Okay, and then 6:30 came around. 6:30. Let me switch over to 1 minute here. Okay, we're 6:30, right around here. Goofball out open. So 6:30 comes around. This open was a little bit less volatile than the previous ones. We just kind of chopped for a bit, but for like the first I'd say 15ish 10ish minutes, we kind of didn't have a set direction, which is completely fine. Remember, we just want to wait for a breakout to either range. It is really risky to trade like the first 15 minutes because usually you get big wicks to the downside and upside. You can see we even got this wick to the bottom of this range and then these wicks to the top of the range. So we were basically in this range. We were just waiting for a clean break above this range or a clean break below this range. We didn't have a level right at those top of that range, because the real top of the range is technically this 585 from back here. But that's where trauma comes in. Remember, guys, trauma is just a little moving support and resistance that helps us find support and resistance possible in between our levels that when we don't have a level there. So, you know, we didn't have a level at this exact area, but it was in between this 585 and this 524 range. So we did reject that top of that range. And then we failed to make a new high, right? What did we do here? Well, we learned with price action, we had 3 instances where we made a lower high, right? So sellers are stepping in previously. So this was kind of already a bearish indication when you start creating this type of thing. This was on the 1 minute though, so this is your smaller time frame, but we'll switch over to 5 and explain the 5 as well. And then we did get our first potential setup. It was this break of this low right here, and then we even had a re-entry on this candle right about here. So you could have took this trade. It wasn't, I wouldn't say this is an A+ setup. You did have some confluences, rejection of trauma, break that level, close below those lower highs. 1 minute was topped out, the break of median, and this one would have been a alright trade. This would have been like 30 points. This would have been more so of a 1 minute trade. And then if you wanted to take the short, your realistic stop loss would be above these highs. If you wanted to keep a tighter one, you could keep it above this smaller high right around there. So that would be your first possible setup when New York session did open. I personally did not take that one. I didn't really like it. I haven't really been trading the first, like, I'd say almost hour of open recently. I kind of just wait to see what opening hourly range is. So then
You said that would be your previous resistance, the previous pre-market highs.
Yes, the pre-market highs.
Okay.
So we never even got there yet. Like we're nowhere near New York session open. But what we did create here once New York session did open now, right? We created our New York session high. So New York session high is very important. So New York session high, remember how we always talk about it? Because usually when we do test it, we either double top or we do end up breaking out for continuation to upside.
Okay.
So it is definitely good. So once you get your first 15 minutes, always make sure to know what your New York session high is and your New York session low. Technically, we didn't know what the low was at this point because this was our previous low, and then we did come and break it, and then this became our new New York session low down here when we did create that. So again, on this side of the area, there wasn't really much here. The 1 minute was bottomed out. We did make this lower low but close above. We held that low, and then we started breaking these highs. So around this area, I would start looking for longs. Reason being is now we are breaking back above that 524. We are breaking above those previous highs. We're making higher highs, and then we are holding that as our new support and now making higher lows, right? So our next realistic entry would be once we break these highs, and then we would be able to enter around any of this time. I tried playing this one. I sadly never got filled. It's literally just fucking edged me every time. I was slowly moving my entry up, and I never got filled on this one. And then this whole move happened without me, so I missed that one sadly. But this one was pretty solid setup. I liked it, especially remember, guys, we look at our bigger time frame picture. I didn't mention that when I first started talking, but our bigger time frame picture is still relatively bullish, and we never really want to fight the trend. If the bigger time frame pictures are telling us that we are bullish, it is better to play long setups than short setups. So I was mainly looking for the long setups. And then I tried playing that one. Sadly, didn't catch a fill on that. And then after that, let's see what ended up happening. We come up here, and we come to these previous highs. And then I actually did try playing a short. This one ended up being break even, and I'll explain why it wasn't the greatest setup. So, okay, so this happened. Just want to make sure. I tried entering here as well. So this is basically your entry with confirmation when we do break above here. It's just never retested, so I never got my entry. I tried filling this breakout area range as well. I literally put it right at that previous high. I just never wicked it and filled me. And then we got this move. So then after this happened, I did catch my first New York trade of the day. It was actually a short. And this was the risky entry. You know how we talk about entries with confirmation and risky entries? And this is one of those times where a risky entry could indeed come back and cook you. It didn't cook me. I got break even. Thankfully, it wasn't a losing trade. But this is the setup I took. I ended up taking a short. I don't know if you guys heard me in voice chat when I was talking. I took a short right around this level at these previous highs and this 585 level. I was expecting a little bit of a retrace, not much of a retrace, but maybe down here to these previous highs, catch a little 25, 30 point scalp. So that sadly did not happen in this case. You guys can see we didn't even we just straight broke through the high with no retest. So we did break through that high, and I saw a little bit of red. I had my stop loss at that previous pre-market, or not pre-market high. I had it at this high, not at that 530. I had it right around this high. And then I never got stopped out, thankfully. And then I actually just did end up getting out of break even. And the reason why I got out of break even and didn't hold it for the whole move to the downside was, remember, when we break a level, our previous support always turns into our resistance, and our resistance always turns into support. In this case, I tried playing the short from this level of resistance down here back to our previous area of our new support right here, right? So when we did break and close and get some more confirmation for the longs with this candle closure and this consolidation, I knew when we came back down to basically where my entry was down here for my short, these previous highs, we more than likely were going to bounce. So I thankfully was able to get out at break even here with this move back down. And you can see I could have technically flipped long here. I just honestly didn't see much confluence, and this was just kind of chop. So throughout this whole area, I didn't really catch any trades here. After I got stopped out, I wanted to wait. When we were talking to VC, TK was looking for the longs above the break of these highs for continuation. That's what it was looking like, especially after this consolidation. Usually when we do consolidate like that, we do get some volume that picks up, and then we break through those highs. But that actually did not happen. And then we kind of just chopped for a while, and then we had a slow grind up with no volume. So remember, when we have a slow grind up with no volume, usually tends to be a fake out, right? And you can see we came down here, volume picked up a bit, we break the New York session high, but then we wick that pre-market high that we previously were talking about, and we never break above it. We do create just a tad bit of liquidity. It was like 1 point of liquidity above that high, but we don't close above, we close back under. And I previously, before we even did that, I already had an order set at that pre-market high. We had that nice little 5-minute divergence with this little double top on the RSI. At 1 minute was topped out, and then we were at that pre-market high. And then it did end up double topping, and that was the top of the day so far. And then we were able to catch our downside move. So in this case scenario, you'd be like, oh, where would I have a stop loss, right? Because this is technically your risky entry of your trade. If you wanted a real stop loss here, me personally, I had it at the 654, right? And the reason why I had a stop loss set is, this is going to sound kind of tricky, because a lot of people were asking me, when do I move a stop loss to break even? When do I have a hard stop loss? So when I first entered this trade, I had a hard stop loss at the 654. Reason being is when you usually test highs or lows of days, you can see a huge spike of volume pickup, and then you just short squeeze right through the highs. And that's when a lot of people tend to get liquidated or lose money. And then so that does happen a lot, especially when you test those highs and lows. So you want to have some sort of hard stop loss set just to have some sort of good risk management. But so I did have my order set. I got filled. And then once we got this moved to the downside, right, and we started hitting this area right here, I did indeed move my stop loss to break even. The reason why I did that was because a lot of things could happen now since this happened. One, we could end up resetting on the one, holding 1 minute trauma, holding our previous high, our previous lows as support now, bouncing and breaking those highs, right? And if that's the case, there's no reason to keep the stop loss at that 654 area, because now once we do retest these highs, we're more than likely to break. Reason being is our 1 minute on the RSI is now reset. We're holding our previous areas of resistance into support now. So now it is looking more so that there's an upside possibility if we do hold that area. And another positive of moving your stop loss to break even once this does happen is, now you know I have my stop loss at break even. This is a risk-free trade. As long as we don't come back up here, this trade is still valid, and we will see potential downside, right? So this was literally a risk-free trade. I targeted this little area right around this area. It was like 602 TP, and then I took full TP. If I wanted to, I could have trimmed and then held for the full move, but it was looking pretty solid, pretty bullish day. And 1 minute was bottoming out, trying to curl back in, and that 5 minute was approaching median. We did end up getting the full dump when median did break, and then that 1 minute did open up and overextend. So that full short did end up playing. I just got a smaller portion of it. It was like 30 points. But that was the one play I took. And then we got a little bit more action. I didn't trade any of this after that. We were kind of just yapping on VC. But a couple setups did present
Can
themselves.
I ask?
Yes, sir.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna ask, how much did you size? Because you know that's a pretty far out stop loss at 654. So how much would you size to control your
Me personally, I sized two
you know,
minis.
your loss? Yeah.
Yeah, I sized two minis. I was already up $400 on the day. This to this was
Oh,
about a
okay.
$1,000 loss. Honestly, for me, typically $1,000 loss is my average like stop loss when I'm sizing two minis. So I was fine with that.
Yeah.
That would just be down 600 on the day if that did hit. I was up $400 from that. I took a long pre-market. I didn't explain that setup because it was a. I don't really like talking about pre-market because it's it's more chopped. It's just not too good for learning. But I caught that move in pre-market, and then I was at 400, so I was risking about $1,000 on this trade, and I was size two minis.
So you're kind of like playing with your profits a little bit, plus the rest of the drawdown we had.
Yeah. So worst case scenario, I
Okay.
get stopped out. I would still have $1,600 or $1,400 worth of drawdown, which is still
Okay.
pretty good.
All right. Yeah.
And then how's it called? So that was basically like a little bit more of a 1-to-1. It was like a 1-to-1.25. Like I said when we first started talking about everything, most of the trades I do take are 1-to-1s or around that area. Reason being is the strategy just has a high win rate. So even if we're just catching 1-to-1s, the profit does add up as long as you're taking decent setups. So that happened, and then we do get a full dump, and then we do this. So this was key right here. These wicks, and there's a reason why this is very important, right? If everybody could text me why once like this started happening, I'll be like, oh shit, we could possibly look for longs. Before that even happened though, remember around this area, I was saying I want a long around this 524 if we do come here and hold this area. And people tell me what I was looking for. I'll zoom out to make it look a bit easier. Why I was expecting us to bounce somewhere around this area, and why I was looking for possible longs around this area. You guys could text me on iMessage. By the way, my bad if I'm not reading TikTok chat, y'all. I'm more focused on this. I'm just streaming to get my account back on the algorithm. Oops, let me try that. And honestly, this looked really good on 15. So we'll switch over to 15 so you guys can take a look at the 15. There's something about this 15 and 5 that made me want to look for longs before we even bounced. I was already around this area. I want to try to catch a long jump. I got a response from most of you guys. Is anybody else still writing one? Okay, there we go. Expert, feel free to message me too. By the way, just send me a message on iMessage.
What's that? Yo, Crispy, did you ask a question?
Yeah. Why would I be looking for a long around this area right here? Before like we even bounced, I was looking for a long around this area. This whole area right here.
So
All right. Okay, so I got a response from most people. So a lot of people are kind of on the right page. So first off, first, remember when we are trying to catch a possible bottom reversal or some sort of that off a retrace, we always want to see two things. One, we either want to see us make a higher low like we did in this case, or wick and then it close above. So there's a specific reason why I was viewing this 524 area though. The reason why I was viewing that 524 area is because of what happened back here, right? If we come over here and look at this 15, this 15 never once on the day closed under this 524. So even though we wicked under it, right, we never closed once under this 524. So this 524 is going to be a very strong area of support where buyers are more than likely going to step in or right before it. They did end up stepping in right before. But look at these candles really closely, right? Look at this 15, we closed right at it, right at that level. And look at this 15, even though we did come back, make this wick, we closed above it. And then look at this candle where we wick right to that level and hold. This little 3 candle, Shaboing Yoing here, showed us that this 524 area was very important. So before we even get there, say this whole move to the downside, I was waiting for that 524 area to possibly long around that area, catch a nice little double bottom like a lot of you guys were saying, and catch that move to upside. We sadly did not come all the way down and then ended up making that lower high and holding. So just because we didn't come all the way down here does not mean we can't catch this long, right? There was confluences for this long, even though we didn't come down all the way over there. So if we switch over to our 5 minute, we could see those confluences. And you guys can see how I'm kind of interchanging between the 1, 5, 15. And you can see that we kind of need to do that to see everything and make sure we're able to catch good entries and actually spot our setups. So first of all, we did something very key here in this area now, right? We make a lower low, but we failed to close below that low, right? And even this candle with this big wick closed green, and then we got a little kind of indecisive candle, and then we got this candle. So right there, we're making about a little double bottom / equal low on the 5. Technically, you still don't have confirmation. You could technically take an entry off this and be like, oh, we just created a fuck ton of liquidity here. I could try to catch this upside move, and you could take a risky entry anywhere around here. Your entry with confirmation comes with this candle, right? We start breaking back above these highs and these highs right here, or these lows and these highs. So we do get that candle, we close back over that 585, and then we get that move to the upside. Your exact entry would have to come off the 1 minute, and that's kind of where you interuse the 5 between the 1, because that 5 minute, if you would have waited for it to close, you kind of don't really have a real entry here on the 5. There's no real entry, because yeah, you could enter, say right here after it closes above these candles, but guess what? You're now right at 5 minute trauma, and this could technically end up rejecting 5 minute trauma and coming back down. That's only one confluence for potential rejection, but you always want to keep everything in mind. So your entry for this would have more than likely came on the 1 minute. On the 5 minute, I personally do not see an entry for that. On this 15, same thing. I personally do not see an entry on that, because just because we closed like with this nice little candle here does not necessarily mean you have an entry. There's like no key entry points. That's where a lot of people do struggle. They're like, where do I actually enter the trade? The 5 and the 15 have no real key entry points here for this long. There was no real entry, in my opinion, at least when I'm looking at this. Nowhere I would enter on the 5 or the 15. Anything would kind of just be entering in between the candles, and there's no real entry. So that's when we come to our 1 minute, our best friend here, right? If you come over to our 1 minute, you can see there's actually a possible entry. If somebody could tell me what the possible entry here on this 1 minute is. Let's see. Everybody text me what the possible entry.
Messages?
Yeah, and there's 2 entries, by the way. There's the risky entry and the safer entry. So if you guys could text me the safer entry and then the risky entry. We have both our entries to every trade. There was a risky entry and our safe entry on this trade. And again, we're just looking at price action right now, but we'll explain the RSI on this a bit after we start explaining the basics of that.
Do you want us to send a picture of the circled candle again?
Yeah, if you guys want to do that, yeah, that's probably the easiest way to do it, because like it'll show me exactly where you think the entry would be. So that's definitely probably the best way to do it. You guys could just circle it, and then just put 2 circles. I'll be able to tell which is which. So just put your 2 circles on your chart where you think your risky entry would be and your entry with confirmation would be. Anybody else join the call? Andy. Okay, while everybody's sending that, Andy, how many trades did you take today?
4.
4. What was your 4-0, 3-1? What was the...
3 and 4.
Fuck you mean 3 or 4? What?
Like. Oh wait, what are you talking about?
How many trades did you take?
Like,
What was your...
like 3 green trades and 1 losing trade.
Oh, for sure.
But like, bro, I would have been 4 for 4. But you know what made me go red, bro?
What happened?
Fucking Jesse convinced me that shorts looked good, bro. My entry was fucking 57, bro, to go long.
It's good. All right. Let's see. Did everybody send me the possible entries?
Sick, bro.
What was the question? What would be the safe? What would be the safe entry for this long, and what would be the risky entry for this long?
Should have left this guy behind, bro. Should have backdoored Jesse, bro.
Okay.
Started being cool with Jesse and he backdoors me. It's good. How many trades did you take today, Chris?
I took 2 and 1 pre-market.
Oh, just 1 pre-market?
1 pre-market and 2 New York session.
Chris, I know you're like an OG seller, so I know you have like this type of stuff, like peep game.
Bro.
I know I'm not supposed to be showing you stuff, but look.
No, I'm not peeping. I'm recording a video, bro. Lock in.
Send me a picture.
All right. I think everybody has sent in their thing. Okay. So a lot of people were right. Some of you guys got 1 right and 1 right and the other wrong. So first we'll start with the risky entry, and this one's kind of, some people are gonna be like, what, why? But your risky entry would actually just be this previous low, right? You're gonna be trying to catch this double bottom, and the reason being is you can see right here we had no real retrace yet, right? Once we get our retrace and our consolidation, that shows somewhere where buyers did previously now step in, right? So now you're gonna wait for a retest of that, and you're gonna assume that buyers do step in. What could have ended up happening is we could have H patterned all the way down to this 5-4 easily. So that's why this is your risky entry. But our 5-minute was curling up and bottoming out during this time. If we can, it's not. If we can come over here, you can see our RSI was curling up and trying to bottom out during this area right here. So this second wick right here would be our risky entry. And there's a couple other things we have on our 1-minute RSI here, right? 1, it did bottom out and flatten out. 2, when we come back down here, we are now approaching median. And then we do get our move to the upside there. So this is your risky entry. And then what would be your safe entry, you'd say, right? And your safe entry would actually come on the break of this. So right around here. This right here. So anywhere around this area wouldn't necessarily be your entry. You could wait for your close above trauma. You can wait for the break above this previous high and have a limit order set here. There's many ways you could take the second entry. You know, it just depends on the actual situation in lifetime. It's easier said than done now, but more than likely you'd have a limit order set above this previous high once that does happen, and then you're able to catch this move with confirmation. Reason being, now you're breaking those previous highs, right? Now you have a liquidity grab with that lower low, and then you end up breaking those previous highs, showing that buyers do step in and take out those previous highs.
I told you. Oh, the Halifax.
And then you see this 5-minute does come up, and then we have our first trim area around 5-minute trauma, and then get the move up. Our 15. Tony, you are muted. Alright, we'll just serve me Tony for now. I don't know what's going on over over
You
there.
don't know what was about to come right there, boy.
Alright. Okay, so that was our second entry. And then you can see the band was overextended as well on the 1 minute. RSI was opening up, and then we do come back in, get our reset, trauma moves up, and get our bullish reset. So those are basically the setups, the main setups of the day. Also, this was technically almost another re-entry, this whole area right here, little trend line with the 1 minute reset. But I just want to go over the setups that did present themselves today. Little recap of price action, seeing it actually play out. So I mean, does anybody have any questions about that whole spiel of this part? And then we'll get into our new topics of the day. Does that all that kind of make sense? Is it kind of like making more sense now with 2 days in of price action?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I guess the only thing I would say is like knowing, like I'd probably enter a little bit on the riskier side, just because it'll be a little harder for me to gauge. Like I know the safer entry is like once it breaks and then it retests
Mm-hmm.
down, but sometimes like I feel like I can get faked out right before it breaks out of that level.
Yeah, that
It's happened to
definitely
me a couple
that
times.
definitely does happen too. It is a possibility. Like you're saying, like in this case right here, right? Are you talking about this entry right here, where we start breaking and then
Yeah, like
it just
around
ends
there.
up rejecting, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's why.
I feel like yeah. I'm just saying like I feel like I would enter probably like in a riskier
Mm-hmm.
entry just because I, sometimes it's a little hard to see
Mm-hmm. And
the
so
the
it's
price
good.
action.
It's good that you mentioned that. So one thing that you will notice is one thing that's gonna help you a lot from being able to identify if this is actually gonna break down or actually go up instead is the RSI. Using the RSI with the Bollinger Bands could actually help you identify when this is topping. It's more likely gonna top out here. It's just a reset, a bearish reset, and we're gonna dump to the downside. In this case, it looked more bullish because the RSI did hold median and was breaking median when we were doing this, so it was looking more like this was a full breakout instead of this is gonna top out at the previous high and H pattern. So we'll introduce that today in a bit and kind of show you guys how to like use
Okay,
that in between each other. But it is definitely like
that's the divergences, right?
yeah, that is a really common issue when people get into this. I do this
Okay.
myself sometimes too, because you think we get our close above, we get our confirmation, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it always does end up playing out, and that's just the way the market is, man. You're not gonna have 100% win rate, sadly impossible.
Yeah,
But it is good
yeah.
to get as much edge as you can on the market. Does anybody have any more questions or even just comments, anything about the price action, all that stuff? Tony, are you back? I'll unmute you. Your mic was unmuted. There you go, Tony. I muted
Hey,
you.
I'm really sorry. I kind of just missed that last chunk. Someone called me at work.
You're good. It's all recorded, so you can just rewatch it. It's fine.
Yeah, somebody
Oh,
called me. That's why I muted myself. But like, I don't know.
All right. You guys better tell everybody that you guys are locked in from 10 o'clock to 11 every day. All right. No more calls or
all right.
they.
I'll tell all the customers we don't take calls anymore.
Yeah. It's a whole business on lunch break. All right.
I'm
So.
about to
Just
close
like
the. I'm about to close the whole Burger King down.
All right, I think that's about it for like the setups we saw today / confluences we saw / price action. If there's any more questions on that, if not, we'll finally start to introduce more into the strat today.
I got a quick question.
Yes, Mr. Expert.
So you know the risky entry, right?
Uh huh.
So technically, would that not be invalidated on the 1 minute since it did break previous lows? Like
No.
that previous, see how it's the bottom, like the
This.
double bottom?
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's actually good thing that you mentioned that. So no, it would not be invalidated. And let me see if somebody else can answer the question actually. Why would this not be invalidated? Can somebody say why this wouldn't be invalidated?
We didn't close under.
Yes, correct. So you see, we wick it. Remember, wicks are very important. You did miss the first 2 days, expert. So wicks, right? Wicks. That all that is stop hunting. It wants you to put that. It wants you to put your stop loss there. So why? So create this liquidity and then fucking fuck you. But no, we never closed under. We created that liquidity with that wick, and then that's actually bullish. That's a bullish sign. When you get a wick like that and close above and start breaking
Yeah.
the previous highs, that's actually a bullish sign. Anytime you're trying to catch a bottom / reversal, like we previously said, you want to see a wick and then a close above the previous highs, or 2, you want to see a higher low made for the continuation to upside. So those are 2 key things you gotta look for when you're trying to catch a bottom/reversal.
Okay, because I thought that for the risky entry, it would be that previous bottom at 545.
Yes. So
But
that would.
since it broke through,
Okay. Maybe I didn't explain that well. This wouldn't be your risky entry. You wouldn't enter this. No. You would wait for this
no.
week
So
would be your entry.
so you're basically waiting for the risky entry, which is the
A retest of that low. So a retest.
yeah,
You would literally
exactly.
have a limit order
Oh,
just set at that 545.
okay, so you would want to still give it more room then, right?
Like to the downside, like where you would have your stop loss.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'd realistically in this case scenario, you'd have a stop loss probably right under this level. I'd probably do like 522, 523, just like 1-2 points under that level of 524.
Oh, okay.
And say hypothetically speaking, we do H pattern, we come down here, right, and boom, we wick it. But guess what? Buyers step in very heavy, and we come back and start breaking these highs, right? Guess what? This entry is still valid. Our entry with confirmation, because now we're breaking those previous highs. And even though you got stopped out, you could look for your re-entry once we do break above there to catch the full move. Just because you get stopped out, right, doesn't mean, oh shit, I can't go long for the rest of the day. I gotta look for shorts now. No. If you see, the longs have confirmation, once again, you can look for your next entry for longs. So it is fine to get stopped out and just, you gotta have valid and realistic stop losses. Because yeah, you could also say, you know what, I'm gonna keep a stop loss at the low day. And realistically, you could, but now you're risking a fuck ton. You're risking like almost, what is that, 40 points, right? 40 points for a potential not that big of a move if volume dies down. So it just depends on your risk tolerance, how much you're sizing. Say you're sizing 1 micro, right? Then yeah, I probably would have put my stop loss at low of day. But it also depends how much you're sizing. And everything I'm explaining is like, I'd say sizing at like a normal position size to your normal risk tolerance.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask too. What would you size for, like, let's say a risky trade, and then what would you size for like a safer trade? I'm assuming you would size a little heavier on the safer trade just
So
because it's more confirmation.
that's kind of like a personal question. That's a risk management question. But for me personally, like
Oh,
on a
okay.
riskier trade, I'll size 5 micros to 1 mini maybe. And like on an average trade,
Mm,
I'm pretty confident I'll usually just take 2 minis. But I wouldn't
okay.
recommend that for you guys. I'm saying that as me, that I've been,
Yeah.
doing it for a while, and that's what I'm just comfortable with personally.
Okay.
Okay, so I think that wraps this part of the section then, and then we'll move on to the new stuff. Any more questions, comments, about any of this? No? All right.
What you were going over with was basically like a recap from yesterday.
Recap of yesterday and like with today's price action. Like basically showing everything with today's price action, what happened, all that. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to the new guys. All right, so today is just gonna be a small introduction into the RSI. Again, this isn't gonna be an explanation of it. It's literally just gonna be an introduction of the RSI with the Bollinger Bands. Let's see, is everybody here? Okay, so down here we have a couple things. So we have our actual RSI, which is this blue line, and then we have our actual Bollinger Bands. Our Bollinger Bands consist of our bottom band, our top band, and this middle line called median. So that's what this actually is, and it's very important you actually know what it is, because if not, you're not going to understand when we say certain things. So engrave this into your mind. The blue line is RSI, the middle line is median, the bottom of these 2 lines, this is the bottom band, and this is the top band. So we're going to be referring to all 4 of these things a lot when we're explaining this, so make sure you have all that down. Okay, second thing, what are we actually looking for on here, right? There's many things you're actually looking for here on.
Could you repeat what the middle lines are?
Yeah, okay, so the middle line is median. So right now I'm just telling you guys like what the name of it. I'm not explaining what it is, just so you guys can actually understand what it is. So this
Yeah, I'm just putting it on the notes.
Yeah, so this whole like middle line is called median.
Alright.
This is called the bottom band. This is your bottom Bollinger Band. This is your top Bollinger Band. And then the blue line that moves in between the Bollinger Bands and median is called your RSI. So this is your RSI. Okay, so
All right, thanks.
what we're looking for here is many things. So this stuff I'm about to say is not going to probably click or make sense to a lot of you guys because it's new stuff. But one, we're looking for resets on the RSI. So that's one, resets. Two, we're looking for breaks of median to the upside, breaks of medians to the downside. Two, we're looking for overextensions of the RSI to the downside or the upside. Three, we're looking for divergences on the RSI. Four, we're looking for RSI levels as well. And five, we are looking for if the bands are opening up, if the bands are tightening up, if the bands are flat. So those are the five main things we look for on the RSI. And that's a lot. I know you're like, what the fuck? How could you even look for that much stuff on something that's like, you know, just it's just fucking squiggly line, right?
Excuse me. Can you repeat what number 2 is one more time? Sorry about that.
Okay, I don't even know what order I did, so I'll just repeat. I'll repeat
Oh,
all of them.
Nah, got it. Reset, divergences, RSI levels, opening and closing of bands.
And overextension. So that kind of falls into that. But if the RSI is overextending to the upside, downside, if we're getting resets on the RSI, if we're getting breaks of medians, divergences, and our how's it called? RSI levels.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we'll start with we'll basically give a brief overview of what everything is. I don't really explain like every single one of these 5 topics could probably have a whole video on it itself. So we're just basically gonna give a brief small breakdown on all of this, and then you also gotta learn how to conjoin all this with this at the same time with all the time frames. So that's gonna be the angle of all this. It's gonna take some time. This is probably gonna be the more difficult part. This is where a lot of people get confused slash you know, they never really catch on. So it is possible though, you know, just with repetition and doing it over and over again. But you just want to basically use all that with price action, with supply and demand between your 1, 5, 15, and then trauma VWAP and all the stuff we've previously learned. And that will basically put the full strategy into one big shaboing, and everything will start to make some more sense. Okay, so we'll start with probably my favorite thing, honestly, is kind of just the simplest of all with the RSI resets. Okay, and first things first, before we get into that, I kind of just want to see a little skill slash see where everybody's at. Could everyone just text me, like, out of those 5 things, how many of those you actually like fully understand, and be completely honest with yourself. Like, so if you understand 2 of those things fully, just say I understand 2, like just text 2. If you understand 3, text 3. If you understand 0, text 0. Just kind of see where everybody's at with all this stuff.
What were the 5 things again?
RSI resets, breaks and medians, RSI levels, RSI overextensions, and then the Bollinger Bands flattening out, opening up, and tightening up. Okay, I got a response from mostly everybody, and as I expected, this is where most people do indeed struggle. A lot of you guys were honest and said you guys don't know much about this, which is completely fine. Oh, a couple more messages came through. Let me read them real quick. Okay, so yeah, this is actually where most people struggle because they think they know how to use it. Even myself, sometimes I'll be like, damn, I didn't see that shit, like after it happens, you know. And that's why it's very good to overview your plays and actually look back at the trades you take. But right here, we actually have two examples here or 3. So right now, live as New York session is going, right? So this might not make sense, but this is an example. I just want to mention this example because it is happening in real time. So we have an example of a RSI level, right? Look at RSI here, right? You notice something? You notice something with these RSI highs right here, right? This would be a form of our RSI level. This was the RSI level earlier in the day as well that we were talking about, right? Where I said we double topped on the RSI from this high to this high. This was also a form of divergence. Reason being, look at where this high is compared to this high, and look at where this RSI high is compared to this RSI high, right? So this would be a form of a RSI level with a divergence. And there's many forms of divergences as well. You guys will see that there's many forms of divergences. There's a lot to learn on the RSI, and it'll kind of just start making sense more as time goes. But so we had the RSI level with that divergence, with these highs, and then yeah, so we did end up resetting with this as well. So if we go back a couple minutes or / hours, we'll come back to our first reset of the day, right? So as I've said, we have been pretty bullish on the day. Mr. Cozy, I cannot co-host right now. I'm recording a YouTube video, sadly. Sorry, buddy. But we did have our RSI reset, and this was actually a bullish reset. And it is very important to know if you are having bullish / bearish resets, because it indicates if you want to catch longs or short setups. So this was our first reset of the day, and this is just a brief explanation of the reset. This is where the RSI was previously topped out. You can see the RSI is topped out here. And then let's take a look at where the RSI was now bottomed out, right? So you could say it bottomed out here, but that is not true. The reason why this is not true is when you want to see a true bottoming out of the RSI, you want to see the bands be flat. So this is an example of when you want to look at the bands. If the bands are flat, that means this is a real possible bottoming / topping of the trend or price, right? When the bands are flat. If the bands are open, that means this is not a possible bottoming / top of the bands. You can see right here we did open up. As you look at price, what did price end up doing? Even though you could say, oh, we're bottom of the band, I go long. No. This makes me mad, all right? This makes me very mad, because a lot of people will see bottom of the band, instantly go long. Or top of the band,
So
instantly
like
go short.
for like the for right there, like the end of that, is it like opening up, or is that like just it just follows the line, like more ahead on it?
This?
So like right now, live.
Oh, right now? This, it's trying to open
Yeah.
up. It's trying to open up. So we'll get to
Oh.
that. We'll get to that.
Oh.
So you can see we did actually finally start to flatten out, right? And then we do have a divergence on the RSI now too, with a flattening out and our reset. So you can see that. So for a full reset, you want to see a full bottoming out. So we'll consider this top up here to this bottom down here our reset. Our reset from the top of the band to the bottom of the band, right? This is not yet a bearish or bullish reset. The reason being is you want to see the next reset to see if this was a bullish / bearish reset. Yeah, you could use the pre-market RSI, but I wouldn't recommend that when you're trading New York, because New York is its own new session, so you want to use New York data with New York data, right? So boom, we get our reset here, 645, and then we get our next reset, right? So this would be our next reset. This low to this high is now our reset, right? And this is why we took a short, because even though we reset, we are still at the same price point, price-wise, right? If you look at our price-wise, we're not breaking highs, we haven't done nothing, right? And then we get our RSI level with that divergence of price here to here, and there's no real bullish divergence here. There's no reason this is screaming a bullish divergence, right? So we do end up topping out once again on the RSI. And you can see this one was kind of easy to see. It was pretty flat. This one was a bit more tricky with the bands opening up. And the reason why the band was opening up, because there was a possibility, right? Possibility if volume did pick up that we had a rip to the upside, right? Okay, we're kind of going to backtrack here because it's happening in real time right here. But you can see once we did break this RSI level, we got our move to the upside, right? And this is because of our bullish reset. And we'll go back to it to explain it. This is kind of happening all in real time, and I don't want to miss it. So gonna kind of speed through this. But okay, so we get that, and then we get this high, right? So this is our new reset here. This. These point touches on the RSI to the band our resets. So we get our topping out, bottoming out, topping out, and then our real top out here. And then now our next reset will be our next bottoming out. Our next bottoming out was down here. Now this is a bullish reset, and let me explain why. If you look at our price, right, look at our lows where RSI was bottomed out here, and look at price where price was right here, right? Now look at the next time we bottom out on the RSI, and look at where price is. We are now higher in price, right? If you notice something, this is starting to make sense with price action, right? Because look at this low compared to this low. What did we do? We made a higher low, right? So this would be considered a bullish reset. So you can see it took hours to fully get the bullish reset, but this whole thing was just a bullish reset. And now that bullish reset is what's causing us to break this previous New York session high. And now you can join this with actual price action, right? Remember what we're going over. The more times something is touched, the bigger chance it has of breaking and actually breaking through, and we wait for a candle closes above. We break New York session high here, and guess what happens? We get our move to the upside. This was a trade you actually probably could have took and caught. I probably would have took this if I was trading, but I'm focusing on teaching right now. So we have our bullish reset with the break of New York session high, with the break of this RSI level, and okay, that basically explains RSI resets. This is just one example. Like I said, I just want to give a brief explanation of everything. There's a lot of things to explain. So that is RSI resets, and this works on every time frame. It depends how big you want to trade, how long, like how far out you want to trade. If you look right here, right? We'll take. We'll start. I mean, we'll start anywhere. I mean, you can just grab any low. You can see the RSI is just basically a game of topping out, bottoming out with resets, right? You look at where we're bottoming out. Right here, we bottom out. Right here, we top out. Now we're bottoming out here. Now we're bottoming out here, right? You notice something? We were bottomed out here, and price was at this point at 540. Next time we bottom out, price is now higher at 586. That is a bullish reset. Why is it bullish? Because we are now higher than we previously were, and the RSI is now bottomed out. And when the RSI is now bottomed out and price is higher, this reset gives us room back up to the top of the band, giving us more possible room to the upside price action wise. And you can see that it did end up playing out, and then we did get this move to the upside. And now look at the next time we topped out right here, and that's right here. Price is now higher. Next time we bottomed out, price was right here. Price was right here. This was actually like almost an A+ setup for this long, because you can see the RSI was bottomed out, flattened out. We get our break of median, boom, we get our pop to the upside. So you guys can see how the RSI just resets, and then price action helps you identify the trend / trade you're taking here.
You can even see the trends on the RSI, like the lows on the dots. You can see it's just trending up.
Say that again.
No, on the RSI, you can see the basically like the trend line with the low points. I like to draw the trend line on the RSI too.
Oh, the divergences. Yeah, so we're gonna go over divergences. First, I'm just going over the RSI resets. So that's basically a brief explanation of RSI resets. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Everybody feel free to text me. If it doesn't make sense, it's fine. I don't expect you to understand it in 15 minutes. So kind of want to see where everybody's at. First, we're just going to focus on RSI resets. Does that kind of make sense? RSI resets.
So is it only a reset if it touches either the top or the bottom of the band?
Okay, so now we're getting deep into it, right? So that is a good question. You're the thinker. You're the thinker, Galaxy. So there's actually multiple types of resets. This is the main one we look for. This is our A+ reset. The one I just explained is an A+ reset. We could also have things that are called median resets, and we'll go over that when we actually fully dive into resets and explain it even more. But a median reset could be the top of the band to median, back to the top of the band, back to median, back to the top of the band. This is usually when you're in a bullish trend and you're just resetting to median to get more. Basically, what happens is you get a move up, you get your retrace, you get consolidation, you get your move back up, and you break that previous high. So there's also resets to median, but I don't want to like overcomplicate things, but there is like two types of resets, because you could also reset from the bottom of the band to median, reject median, come back to the bottom of the band, and keep going lower in price as well. But the reset I went over is basically
so is that like
A+.
the same?
It's the same concept. Same thing with price. How if we're touching median, right, and we're previously lower than we were now giving ourselves more possible room to the downside.
So
Here.
bottoming out and topping out is with the RSI touching the ends of the bands, right?
Correct. And you want to make sure the bands are flat.
Okay.
Because if the bands are not flat, we'll get something like this, right? We'll get something like this right now that's happening in real time, where the bands open up and the RSI becomes overextended. And what most people will do is they'll start seeing topping of a band and go short instantly, right? But no, you don't want to do that, because what could happen is the bands could keep opening up and the RSI could just keep going and overextending, and price will keep going, because you're fighting the trend when you're doing this, right? There's no key reason to do this. I mean, the buyers are clearly in control here. And then this is RSI resets. Maybe when I explain everything else, also Galaxy, you'll kind of see where everything falls into place, because maybe when I explain median on top of this, now the resets with median will make sense and it'll fall together. Okay, but that's the basics of RSI resets. Let's see what everybody has to say. Okay. All right, we'll move on to part 2, divergences. Divergences is kind of a complex one, because there is basically 2 sides to every divergence. I mean, it's basically like the market. There's 2 sides to every trade. But in short term, a divergence is basically something that's diverging. I know, fucking insane, right? But okay, for example, this was a divergence, technically speaking. This on the R side was a divergence, right? This was also a divergence, and they look completely different, right? This, we have a little bottom trend line / level with the RSI here, and then this up here, there's no real like line or anything. This is more so price wise of the RSI with price action. So there's technically many kinds of divergences. The ones we mainly play are just trendline divergences on the RSI, but these do pop up every once in a while and are pretty clutch, especially when you don't see anything else, and then this comes up and you're like, oh no, nice confluence, nice extra confluence to have. But the ones we usually do play are the ones that look something like this. So you can see we have all these lows on the RSI, and we have all these touches right here, right? We had a nice little divergence. This would be considered a bearish divergence, and you'd want to catch the break of it, and then we did end up breaking and catching the move to the downside. These are the ones you usually see me trade. These are the most common ones. I mean, if you look at the chart, you look at every time frame, they're basically everywhere. And what makes a divergence good is just having as many confluences as you can possible line up for them, right? The more confluences you have lining up with the divergence, the better. You see right here, we have nice divergence here, right here that we end up breaking to the upside. Divergence here. This is the other kind of divergence, you guys. So you guys saw the example of the short I took, right? Now look at the example of this divergence for a possible long, right? Look at where price was here when the RSI was here, and then look at where price was here when the RSI was here, right? This is also a divergence. So there's technically multiple kinds of divergences when it comes to RSI. It's kind of like when people, I don't trade this way, but you know, like when people compare NASDAQ ES, they're like, oh look, ES is not the same as NASDAQ, divergence. There's many kinds of divergences when it comes to RSI, and you got to know how to use every one of them the proper way. Let's see if we can find another example of another divergence. Right here, right? This was yesterday. I think we talked about this. Right, look at these highs and then look at RSI. RSI was higher than it previously was here when we're approaching the same high, right? Bearish divergence, boom, we get our move to the downside. And guess what? After we get to the move to the downside, we form another divergence, but this time a trendline divergence. And that trendline divergence is the long that most of us took yesterday on VC, on the break of this 5-minute divergence right here, right? We talked about this yesterday. This break of this divergence right here, right? You can see if we zoom in, maybe if we make the RSI better, we had this divergence right here, right? We had this divergence right here, and boom. And yeah, it's basically just a rinse and repeat divergences with the RSI resets, right? Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Another divergence right here, right? Another divergence right there, and I bet you there's a price divergence right here with these highs. Let's see. Let's find another possible example of one. Another divergence here. Just divergences everywhere, man. And Bear loves divergences. The guy that mentored me, his favorite thing are divergences. That's his special cup of tea, and this is his special fucking ability. It's spotting divergences and just noticing them. So divergences, very important when trading the RSI. All right, we'll move on to the next thing. Median. Where do we begin? Okay, in short form, simple form, think of it this way, right? Like today's just a basic explanation of things. Just don't want to overcomplicate the brain with too much information. Median, right? Anything above median, buyers are in control. Anything below median, sellers are in control. But just because sellers or buyers are in control does not mean, it won't eventually break. When buyers overtake sellers or sellers overtake buyers, we get something called the break of median. And if you notice something, the break of median will usually always be the break of lows, the break of previous highs, depending on the situation with your RSI resets. And then you use that conjoined with price action and your divergences. So if you notice something too, when we were mapping out divergences, most of our divergences, the breakouts of the divergences line up with the break of median, whether it be on the 5 minute, whether it be on the 1 minute, right? For example,
Oh my bad.
yes.
Does does the tilt have anything to do with that, or like is
Tilt.
that,
What do you mean?
like 50% short, 60, like 40% short,
No,
50?
that's just for Top Step. That's just what people on Top Step are trading. That doesn't nothing to do with it. But technically, yes, but with the whole market, not just Top Step, because at the end of the day, the market is just buyers and sellers, and the RSI is showing you the buyers and sellers. So for that short that we did play today, right? Or no, not the short I played. I missed this one. But if anybody caught this move, the setup we talked about over here, when we did break that low and then get this move to the downside. If you notice something, when we got the full big dump, what did we do, right? If you look closely here, right? It was this nice break of divergence with the break of median, right? If we look at the chart itself, come over here, we come here. If we notice something, right, we hover over this. It's easier to see in real time, but you can see because the RSI is a delayed indicator, so it's kind of like funky because it already closed the candle, so you don't see it happen in real time. But when we were breaking these lows and breaking these lows here, we were breaking median, right? And like I said, until we break above median, sellers are in control. And if you notice something, our full reversal never happened until we broke above median, right? This area of RSI right here was this area of price action right here, right? And you can see in real time, you can't see it now because the RSI is delayed indicator, like I said, but the RSI did come up to median right here and then reject, right? And this would technically be a smaller sign of a bearish reset to median. You would say, oh, we're resetting to median, we're probably gonna reject median and see more downside. And then boom, the band was opening up, and then the RSI does come back inside the band and flatten out, and then we get our move to the upside. And there was more confluences price action wise and other things on the chart, but we're just gonna focus on the RSI mainly right here to just teach the basics of this. But you can see when you break median, usually it's the break of your lows, the break of your highs, and then you get your actual dump / move to the downside. And the median will usually line up with breakouts / breakdowns of price. So you can see break of median. And then now we'll try to find examples of a reset to median. So we can talk about median with resets. All right, let's see if we can find a good example here.
Oh, question.
Yes.
Anytime there's a trend line forming on the RSI, that's a divergence.
Yes. Basically, it has to be. It has to have nice. It has to be nice though. You know, the points have to be like. It has to be direct. And just because like it's a bottom trend line or like top trend line, doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna be a bullish slash. It depends on a lot of situations whether it's a bullish or bearish divergence, and that's kind of with the experience where you like can match up a price with the divergences to see if it's a bullish or bearish divergence. Because like for example, right here, just to answer that question so you're not confused, we have this trend line, right? And most people, when they start using my strategy, would think this is a bearish divergence, right? Because, oh, trend line, break trend line, go down. No. Reason being, look at price, right? Look at price with the RSI. And then what happens? We use that bullish divergence to break those highs and then get them to the upside. So you kind of just got to spot the situation, right? Because say we have this divergence, but we're breaking lows, right? You're going to want to play the break of the low with the break of that divergence. Does that kind of make sense?
So since we held that low, then we're treating that divergence like bounce and then play off the break of median.
Exactly. And then you can also see the break of that median
So,
lines up with the break of those previous RSI highs.
I have like a question,
Mm-hmm.
like there's been a few times I've seen people like that are like, I'm in shorts and shit, and then and he just comes in like, oh, it's your things reversed,
Your divergence or what?
every, like, yeah, no, like he's saying like, your trades are reversed, the things topped out, but like how can you be like 100% sure you know about that? Like,
Well, you're never
how you
100%
say
sure.
you is anyone following? Yeah.
Nothing is ever 100%
Okay.
sure. You're going to have losing trades. It's just the way it is, you know. You can try to use as much
Yeah.
confluences as you want, but at the end of the day, you're going to take losing trades. But I mean, you could use
Okay.
all these confluences to try to catch a good trade. And yeah, I mean, you know, losing trades are going to happen. But a reset to median. Let's see if we can find an example. I saw a good one. Where was it? I lost him somewhere over here. Where was he? Where was it? It's harder to show examples because most of the resets to median happen in real time, and by the time the candles close, you can't really see them on the chart. But I guess right here, somewhat decent. So boom, we bottom out, right? And then we top out and we're flat on the bands. And then we come down to median. You come back down to median, right? We make our way back down to median. And if you look at price, just kind of a shitty example actually. Yeah, this is a shitty example. Okay, ignore that example. That's a shitty example. That's gonna confuse people. It's just, I guess we're gonna have to explain that in real time. It's really hard to find an example because usually when resets to medians are just wicks. When you look at a wick, most of your wicks will come with retraces to median. All your big wicks will usually be a retrace to median.
I mean, you could probably show us tomorrow, like before we hop on here and we're on the other VC.
Yeah. So I guess this is kind of a good example today, but this is more so on the 15. But okay, it'll look something like this basically. So you can see we come to the top of the band and we come to median and we end up holding median, right? We did chop right under it for a bit, but we do hold median. So technically buyers are still in control on top of that bullish reset that we were talking about from these lows to these lows. And now instead of being topped out, right? Look at where median is now compared to where we were previously bottomed out, right? So boom, boom. Even though we're not bottomed out yet, we're at median. We're still higher than we previously were when we were bottomed out. So I mean, this is just screaming for now bullish, right? Even if it did break median and come back to the bottom of the band, say we bottomed out here, that would still be bullish. And you would want to play longs when you do get some confirmation. So you get your reset to median, and now when you reset to median, you have all this area back up to break the previous highs, which we did end up doing, right? We ended up breaking these previous highs because now we have room from median to the top of the band. The bands are still technically opening up. It's not much. They're trying to flatten out. 15 does have 10 minutes to close, so it might flatten out, and then we could top out. Because we do have a 654 level there. The 15 could possibly top out there. And then this 5 is back inside the band. So now it's not a bad idea to possibly play a short. I wouldn't say just enter right off rip right here. No, because we're still above those previous highs. But this 5 minute did come back inside the band and it's trying to flatten out. Let's see what our 1 minute is currently doing. So the 1 minute is trying to bottom out, but it is opening up. And we're right at 1 minute trauma. Okay, so that's RSI median. Median. Okay. Next thing, the bands. The bands, we kind of already went over with everything else, like with the medians, divergences, and the resets. But basically, in short form, tightening up of bands means low volume / consolidation for a possible bigger move to the upside or downside depending on the situation of the day. It depends on the price action. So usually when you see the bands tightening up, it means volume is dying down and it's just trying to have a reset. And that's where you look at your bigger time frame pictures to find your resets / divergences. And when the bands are opening up, it is the opposite. It means volume is high, or we're finally picking up volume. And if we're breaking a high, breaking a low, or we're retesting a breakout or breakdown, there's possibility for continuation to the downside or upside depending on the situation, right? So that's very important to know. And then our simple guy, our last thing of the bands, is when they are flat. Basically two. So when they are flat, right? The bands are flat. That means this could be a real bottoming / topping out of the RSI or price, right? And when the bands do, because the RSI will usually always get overextended, right? Boom, we get overextended like we did today. What we usually want to wait for is this is what I've noticed when my time frame is. Usually what always ends up happening is the RSI will come back in, have a little retrace, and then always break that low, come back lower, and then come back inside. Usually your entry will always come after this second move happens, right? You never want to take your long right off rip right when it starts coming back inside the band. Yes, sometimes it will work, but this is more risky. Reason being is because you're, in this case, same thing, right? You see the RSI start coming back inside the band. You could be like, oh, it's coming back inside the band. But guess what? It's still not flat. So we reject, and then boom, we still are opening up, and then we end up bottoming out here. You always want to wait for the bands to be flat. This is something not a lot of people actually utilize, and they don't really care about it, and that's why a lot of people always get caught in falling knives or like big breakthroughs. And what else when it comes to the bands? Tightening up with good price action. Sometimes price action will be good with high volume, and the bands will still be tightening up. Usually what that means is the bands are moving up like this, so when the RSI resets, we could have more room up to the upside. Or if we're moving to the downside and the bands are curling in like this, we're giving ourselves more room to the downside.
But do the bands start to flatten up when the RSI starts to go back into the bands? Because I remember you mentioned that,
situation.
Gotta wait until the okay.
So you could kind of see like right here now, the RSI never really got overextended. Like it never went outside the band, but it's trying to flatten out.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the 1 minute, so it's a lot quicker. But you can see the RSI never technically fully overextended, but it's trying to flatten out.
Let's say if it did get overextended, then you would wait first for the RSI to come in and then the Bollinger Bands to flatten out?
Yes. So you'd want both. Seeing both would be a really nice sign. Sometimes, you'll see me take trades right as soon as the RSI comes back inside the band. And those will just be riskier trades. Your safer trade will always be with the RSI coming back inside the band and the bands being flat. You always want to see two for like double confirmation. But when the RSI does come back inside the band, sometimes it does just end up taking some time to flatten out. And then by the time you're at median, the bands are not flat. And if you never take that risky entry, there's no other real entry down there. So it just depends. It all depends on the situation. So you guys will kind of see how like you got to use everything like you got to use everything together. You can't just do like one thing. You got to use everything together. What else? Last thing on the RSI levels. Levels is probably the simplest thing on the RSI. It's the most basic one, yet pretty effective if used correctly. It's just your RSI levels. Literally the same thing as think of it up here as supply and demand with price, supply and demand with RSI, right? Look at all these lows: one low, one low, two low, three low, four low, right? This low has been pretty important. You map out that low. That's a nice RSI level here on your 1 minute. And this is like so simple, but a lot of people sleep on it, but it works. It's good. Okay, you come right here, right? You look around this area, right? Do you guys notice something? Look at this high, 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 right? RSI level, boom. And then if you zoom out even more, you could see if you come to this top area right here, this high, up in that level. In between, you don't want to have too many levels because then you just overclutter your chart and then you fucking take trades for no reasons because you destroy your mind thinking you see something when you don't. But I mean, right here, you would see this is a pretty respected area if you look at the overview picture. And then right around here is another really respected part of the RSI where we usually do end up projecting or holding.
Yeah, Christy said,
Mhm.
so there's this guy on another Discord that like his whole chart is full of lines and everything. Like you can't even see the actual graph. It's just straight lines and shit.
Yeah, so you never want to like overcomplicate yourself. That's why, I mean, I have a fuck ton of shit on my chart, but it works for me because I've like put it down to the point where it's not too much. And then honestly, the RSI levels work better on the bigger time frames, such as the 5 and the 15. So if we come over to our 5, you can see there's a lot less like motion. So you could see like this right here would be a nice level. Reason being, rejection, 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 rejection. Pretty solid level. All right, you zoom out even more, you can see right around these highs. It doesn't get touched much, but when it does reject. Rejection here, rejection here. And then you come down to your lows. You can see this low is actually really respected, right? Look at this low, look at this low, 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 this low.
So when you say it's a good level, like if you want to go put it on the graph, where would that level be?
Literally, like I could map them out as we speak. I personally just kind of eyeball these. I don't really have them charted because I don't like to have too much shit on my screen. But it's just because I got so used. I got used to like knowing when to spot them. But when you're first like learning it, I used to have them on my chart. Like I don't know if you look at some of my older videos, you'll see they're on my chart. But for example, where's the horizontal line? So you would literally just come on here and literally like this. It looks something like this. You just chart it like a normal line, treat it as resistance, treat it as support.
No, but what I'm saying is like on the actual graph, like the 23,000 and stuff. Like, does it give you the number for that or no?
No, so you don't chart anything up here. You're just charting this. You're just charting the RSI. It has nothing to do with price action. These levels now that you get, you're gonna use with the price action. You're gonna use with everything else. But these levels are for the RSI on its own. Since the RSI is a delayed indicator, for the 1 minute you could just use the 1 minute chart. Since the 1 minute it's only 60 seconds of time, so it's not too delayed. But when you're charting the 5 minute, you're gonna use your 15-minute time frame, and when you're charting your 15-minute, you're gonna use your 4-hour time frame because they are delayed indicators. So if I'm charting the 15, everything I chart on here, I'm gonna put on the 5. Everything I chart on the 4-hour, I'm gonna put on the 15. And you can see on the bigger time frames how much easier and more clean it looks. So usually max you'll see like 3 maybe 4 levels for the RSI, right? You don't want to overcomplicate it. It's just like 3 to 4 levels max. Like this isn't something where you're gonna have a level every 10 points of intervals. Like this is something like that you're only gonna have 3 to 4 levels, if anything. But yeah, levels, and the way you just use them, I mean, simple, man. Same thing as a normal supply and demand. You touch point, oh, price action touching high, oh, possible rejection, right? Price RSI touching that level, RSI touching high, volume picks up, breaks the high, breaks the level. It's another confluence, stuff like that. Let's see. I think that's about everything with the RSI. The basics explained, like just a small overview. There's a lot more deep diving we can do, but I mean, we've already been going for almost, I think today was a longer call than expected. Holy shit, it was supposed to be short. It's 1:30. Holy ballsack. Okay, I think that's about it. Any questions, concerns? I know it's a lot of information. I mean, I've told people like the video I recorded previously, man, it goes nowhere in depth of how in depth we get into the strategy in reality. I mean, like today alone, we spent like an hour just literally going over a brief overview of the RSI, but there's a lot more we can go over in the future. But any questions or anything from all this we have seen today?
Can you quickly like go over all the names for the different divergences, like trend line and
Yes. So there's like
price
technically
divergence?
I
Just
don't
so I
like I don't know what I don't even know what the names would be, but so a divergence could be, you know, price touches the same point and price is different in value, right? So like for example, say we were like bottomed out right here, and then the RSI does something like this, and then the RSI is now at a different price than it previously was, but price is different. I know it sounds like so much words. I think it's better if we just find examples of it. But okay, so for like right here, for example.
But I've been so locked in, I didn't even know I was eating food with two forks.
Nice. Okay, so if we come here, so we have our RSI low, right, Cam? Right here, around this area. Right. Next time we come back to RSI low, look where price is, right? And RSI low again, look where price is, right? So RSI is basically staying the same value-wise, and price is going lower. So this is a form of divergence.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right? And same thing with the high where we took that short today.
And that would also be a RSI level, since it wasn't really breaking below that.
This would be more so of a like little bottom divergence. When you see overextension, usually like that's what I've also noticed. It's good that you mentioned that. When you get overextensions, usually you get a little bit of a little like divergence always that looks like something like that ends up holding, and then like we'll go to another time where we were overextended, and you'll probably see something similar to that. So right here, when we got overextended, a little divergence there as well, right? Look at that low. Look at that low. RSI is now higher than the previous was, right? So RSI is here, price is here. RSI is higher now, and look where price is, it's lower, right? See that? It's kind of weird because it's like counterintuitive, because you'd be like, oh, price is lower, but RSI is higher. Isn't that like, you know, bearish? Like, it's kind of weird, but so that it's kind of confusing, so to speak, but it's, you know, it's there. It's just the way it is, I guess. I don't know. Another thing right here, look at this low, right? RSI, RSI. You could kind of just notice these things. And there's no like line, you get what I'm saying? Like, it's just kind of there. Kind of look at price action, RSI, you kind of notice those things.
Real quick, for the trend line, like the RSI divergences, does it have to, it doesn't have to go from like the top to the bottom,
No, it
right? It
doesn't,
can
no.
just be a small portion. Okay.
Yeah, so like something like this would be a divergence. So something like this would be a divergence. And you can see that lined up with this. This would be a bullish setup. Reason being, divergence, right? Look at this. We go lower. We close back above that previous low. And now we're holding that divergence. That is now our bullish divergence. And say, for some reason, you come back down and break that. Now, that divergence is still technically, like, you know, if it, say we would have rejected here for some reason at this 585, right? And we come back down to that divergence. It could also keep holding as support and we bounce, or it could just dump and break that divergence, because it is technically, every trade has two sides to it, you know? It could end up getting broken to the downside. Just because you see a divergence doesn't mean it's going to 100,000% work out. You know, that's why most of the time it does, don't get me wrong. That's why the win rate is pretty high for this. But you just got to use everything conjoined. That's why back when you would hear me say like, dude, like, do you want to see like 6+ confluences for a nice setup? Like, sometimes you'll seek 10 confluences for a setup. It all depends. It all depends. You can see the 5s now, 15s flat, 5s flat.
It's Crispy's. This is off topic, but look at the fucking chat. I set a trap for my cat.
All right, for sure. I'm gonna wrap up the video here and then look at it. All right, guys. Appreciate everybody that watched it and tuned in. Same thing with the